Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, May 17th regular board meeting of the Clay Township Board in the John Hensel Government Center Community Room. Call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Mary, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up is public comments. We've got two members of the community signed up. First one was Judy Hagan. Miss Judy Hagan.
Good evening, Township Board members, and congratulations, Mr. Hensel.
Thank you.
I'm before you tonight on just as a public person, asking you to consider at budget time if you would explore adding a Township Park and Rec CUME Capital Fund. Many years ago, 25 years ago now, when we first did the Central Park bond, in the long-term discussion, that was part of the discussion for the future once the bond was paid off and the COIT that was captured started to decline. Now, it generates nothing near what the county option income, or the LIT now, raises. But if the full rate could eventually be reached, at least based on today's assessed value, it would be about $1.4 million a year. And that would be a base that the department would always have as we move into a situation where things are going to be more bonding or short-term bonding and not the steady stream that they have annually now with the LIT. So I played amateur accountant, and Angie's going to laugh. I've got a little spreadsheet, and I calculated it down in several different iterations of what the rate could be. The legal limit is 0.0167, which would generate the 1.4. But if you did something very tiny just to start it, because I know you're up against your max levy, the levy grows just a tiny bit each year. But if there's a way to finagle that to at least get it established, then you would have that tool going forward. And as it could just sit there with a minimal amount coming in each year, but eventually you would have that fund and you could adjust as the years go forward. So that's what I'm here to ask about. And it doesn't deserve an answer this evening. I just wanted to get it on your plate, and I will share my little cheat sheet with you. Thank you.
Judy, what would happen to the city's CUME Cap Fund?
Well, I think that's a good question, Mr. Snyder. I'm sort of looking at that too. It's unclear where all that has gone to or for. So I think that's a very good question. I hope somebody's asking that at budget time.
One idea that was thrown out was we take that fund over.
Oh, that would work also. Although the township rate, I believe, is less than the city rate, if I'm right. I think they can do a nickel. When we had this researched, I want to say 30 years ago now, and the rates were different for a township and a city. Now, maybe there's something under the interlocal that can be done.
Well, now would be the time to do it as we're negotiating the interlocal, but I'm sure Angie will advise us in the coming weeks of what we can and can't do.
That's why I sort of wanted to know that somebody who knew a little bit but is now 15 years out of date at least was aware of that option, and I think it's one of the ones that Brian has put in the report to all of you about options looking forward. So I think it keeps the township in a strong role, which we do want to maintain always and hold hands, because that has been the reason the park system has been so successful. Everybody's been rowing in the same boat in the same direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Miss Renee Butts.
Good evening.
I'm here to just say thank you for your $10,000 sponsorship for Firefighter for a Day camp. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to have such a successful camp. And we are grateful. And that's really just what I wanted to say. Unless you guys have any questions about the camp.
When is the camp?
June 21st through the 24th. Registration opens tomorrow to the public.
And where's it being had?
Prairie Trace.
Still Prairie Trace?
Yeah. So there was consideration about having it at the Dad's Club. The problem is every one of our stations has water. I mean, lots of water. So we would have to revamp all the stations to take the water out. I think we'd still probably be able to have water ball in the parking lot because at the end of the day, there's accumulation of the end of the day. All the teams compete in a water ball tournament.
Right.
But just about every station has some sort of water in it, and I don't think we're allowed to have water inside the Dad's. Like, by water, I mean we're spraying hoses, and we're a lot of different hoses, and we're, saving the baby out of the pool and that kind of stuff. And so I'm pretty sure we can't have
maybe
that.
revisit the Dad's Club next year.
So-
just because, there's hydrants out there, and there'll be much more playing space. Like, there'll be that full-size field that's not continuously occupied, so you'd have a huge outdoor space, and
Oh,
maybe you
okay.
could do a hybrid of indoor-outdoor.
Okay, that would be awesome. I didn't realize that there was an outdoor space there. I unfortunately have not been there to tour the facility.
You've
We
got
talked
to.
about having it inside the facility, and if we could revamp the, different stations so they didn't have water and still make them fun and crazy fun, then we could have it inside, and then we wouldn't have weather concerns because that's one of our, ever since we went to 4 days, we've always lost a day to weather. So
What is it, about 20 acres of grass at Badger?
There's 30 acres.
30 acres. So there's 30 acres of
okay,
grass,
That's tons.
grass surface, and with hydrants around you could pull water from, and then
Perfect.
the indoor, weather turned sour, you could run inside.
so
If it was scheduled, I mean.
yeah,
The day that we cut the ribbon, that was the first thing I said. Why don't we bring
It is.
it over? That was what I just thought it would be such a neat place for it.
I think it will probably be moved there next year. This year, we just didn't get it done in time. There's I don't know, all the moving parts and trying to coordinate them all. I just didn't get it done in time. So with that on my radar this year, we'll be able to figure that out ahead of time.
I
So
usually come out and watch them for a while, and I think it's a lot of fun. I
It
think
is.
all the kids should do it.
I think it is by far the most popular event that the fire department is even involved in. And it has such far-reaching capacity because not only between all the kids that come, I mean, every year there's kids that come back and back again, and then we have people returning as camp counselor type people, and then the volunteers. I mean, it's incredible, and we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you for doing it.
One question, or a couple. What's the ages?
Ages 7 to 12.
Okay, and about how many really show up, that shows up for this thing?
So we always kind of overbook the day. So we usually have somewhere between 160 to 175 kids each day. And so we know like 10 to 15 kids are not going to show up. So we always overbook it by 10 kids. And then invariably somebody is like, oh, you didn't care if my kid came while I'm volunteering today. And it's like, we don't care, but we want you to register your kid. But apparently somehow that always gets lost in the
Shuffle.
yes. But if you have anybody that you know that wants to go, it'll be posted on the Facebook page, I think, around 9 a.m. tomorrow. Get on it quick because it'll fill in 12 hours. So it'll fill before tomorrow. The day after tomorrow. It opens tomorrow. It'll fill before tomorrow evening. So
Well, it's exciting. I'll be back out to see it.
it's amazing. Yeah.
it
So
really is.
please come on out. We'd love to have you. June 21st to the 24th. So pick a day.
Thank you.
Well, Renee, thank you for everything that you do and for what the fire department does also.
Oh, thanks. We appreciate all your guys' support. All right, you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Next up is minutes from our last meeting. I'd hear a motion to approve.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Action items. First up, we've got Mr. Bob Sweeney here from the Carmel Public Library to talk about a new reappointing A gentleman to the board. Would you like to say a few words, sir?
Yes, thank you. and Good evening. I am here in support of the reappointment of Mr. Ranj Puthran. This would be his fourth and final term that he's eligible for on the board. And the library board has discussed this and endorsed his reappointment, of course. And I've pointed out that I've been the director of the Carmel Library for a little less than 6 years, and in the next few years, Mr. Puthran will be the senior member of the board. We have a relatively new board, and I feel like, particularly this time where the library is expanding, the leadership that he provides is pretty important. The continuity and the historical knowledge that he has makes him an excellent candidate. He's an excellent appointee from Clay Township, and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on Raj?
No, I know him. I think he's a fine person, and I think he should be reappointed.
I'm good.
Then I see no reason to delay. I'd hear a motion to reappoint Mr. Puthran.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, next up is action item B, resolution number 2022-05-17-01, lease agreement for use as administration and communication offices for the Carmel Information and Communications System. This has been going around for some time. I know one thing that we want to discuss was the look of the addition to this building. Everybody got plans?
Should I vote on
Anybody
that?
have any concerns? We've got somebody from Studio M here to address any design concerns, if there are any.
Got a couple questions here.
You seen him?
Could you go ahead and introduce yourself at the microphone, who you're with, and why you're here, please?
I'm David Swart. I'm with Studio M Architecture and Planning, and we have a proposal for addition to the Clay Township Center.
All right. Dave, one question I have, let's say the IT department moves out. What can be used in that garage area? Can it be framed up to offices, or is it sort of going to be a garage permanently? What will it be? What can it be used for besides what we have right now?
We can change it to an office. We are filing variances because the building at the moment is over square footage, code-wise, but there's no reason for that space to be expanded into offices. We are filing it as a business, and this is what this building is filed. So we are not changing any occupancy loads.
Next question I had, how many parking spots are we losing out there and been picking up from, what's the net parking spots?
I am not 100% sure. We are not losing any parking spots. We are just changing the location.
Why are we seeking variances? The township should be
It's
exempt
just-
from that.
Code-wise, you're only allowed to have 12,000 square feet before you have to put fire or 3-hour fire barriers in, and the variance is just so that we can encroach on that square footage without having the extra cost.
Do you think it's prudent to get a variance for fire protection on fire station property?
That was a internal joke that we had, but code-wise, it's just a approval that we need to get.
I would assume just build it right the first time
Yeah.
and not go for a variance. I don't.
Well, it's a big cost implication, and then there's fire doors that you need to be keep closed. Just creates a problem with movement.
It's my understanding that this project came in under the initial bond amount, though, so there's money, there's some additional funds to make it fire safe.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I
Can't
think
hear you at all.
well, the bond covered the Carmel IT and data center, and I think they went over budget. There was a few items that wasn't included in the initial bid.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of money left over for this project.
I think we'd like to see the cost difference between building it right versus getting the variance. And then
Okay.
I just think it is poor form to get a variance on fire protection at a fire station. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I'm not aware of that. Yes, I would. I'm not aware, and I agree with the president that we need to look at that. I mean, I'm not a architect or anything, but that seems to be kind of strange for me, from my years in the fire service and everything. But things have changed, I will say that. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that I would like to see it myself. Okay.
And we retrofitted a fire suppression system in 46 and 45 just this past year, and it was not very expensive, and that was retrofitting. So I can't imagine
This building is not sprinklered, so we need to separate every space with a firewall. So that's a wall that goes through the roof, and it.
That's okay. The
Makes
sprinklers it makes a difference.
Yeah,
Okay. So now we're putting firewalls and all that stuff because it's not sprinkled.
that's correct.
Okay, and they're not going to sprinkle that part of it, right?
No, it will be expensive to do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably why.
Okay.
Is because it's not sprinkled. That would be the difference.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Mary? I'm sorry.
I don't know, that's all right, you're covering them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So before us, we have the resolution for the lease that has been talked about over and over again with the city back and forth. We finally have an agreement, I think, that leaves everybody satisfied. I had spoken with our counsel, Doug Kowalski over there. I would like to see us pass this resolution tonight, but with a time limit of action, that the city has 90 days to make a decision, or not. I don't want this to drag on for
That's fine with me.
ever and ever. So would that just be approving this with a 90-day period? I guess I want to make sure we say it correctly.
Yes, so you can amend the resolution to incorporate a 90-day period and then approve it as amended.
So I would move we amend the resolution before us to insert a stipulation that the city has 90 days from today to execute the lease, or the resolution would terminate. Is that
Yes.
okay? So
I still move.
Second.
there's been a motion and a second to amend the resolution before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries. Now we'd hear a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I still move again.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Okay.
90 days.
There is one more item, and I don't know if it is an action item or not, but I wanted to bring up. We tried in the last bond issuance to get one more project in, and there was a myriad of reasons why we couldn't, and that was for many years we've talked about doing something for the veterans, taking care of those.
Right.
We're always going to be in our Clay Township Impact Plan, and they just kind of kept getting
Pushed out.
pushed out. And I'd like to fix that tonight. The requests are $50,000 for the VFW to enhance their dining and outdoor space. They've got some drainage issues in the back, and $26,000 for the American Legion because their parking lot has completely disintegrated.
Right, it sure has.
Doug has agreed he can pay for this. I guess I'd just like a concurrence from you guys that we're okay to move forward taking care of the two major veteran service organizations in our community.
I think it's really important. I would support it.
I'm 100% behind that.
Okay. Doug, you don't need a formal motion on that, do you? Or would you like one?
I would like one.
I would move that we, in the form of a donation to the VFW, $50,000, and to the American Legion, $26,000 for building improvement and parking lot improvement, period.
I move that we do that.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You said American Legion is the 50?
VFW is 50.
Okay, VFW is 50, and the other one's 27?
26.
26.
You said 25 when you started.
Well,
I said 26. I wrote it down.
Oh,
20, it's 26. That was,
American Legion's 26.
yes.
Okay.
got it.
Information items.
Nothing.
Financial questions from the board.
I got a couple. In doing the audits of the accounts and stuff here, I've noticed that we've got two funds. First one here is Cary Grove that has not had any actions or payments on it since July. The only thing that's been pulled out of it has been CTI Construction and Kroger, Regas, Gardis, and Regas attorneys. What do we have to do to close these bills? Do we have our final statement on it? And the other one is on the flowing well. There's been nothing on it since
Really?
September, and the same thing, CTI and,
Because part of the payment schedule to Kroger Gardis and to CTI lasts the duration of the bonds, not the duration of the project. So they were always committed to be paid for, their professional fees paid for out of these individual projects through the duration, because that's the way the budgeting was set up. So, and then out of Cary Grove, I know Michael Klitzing has purchased some bollards that he's gonna want reimbursed for.
okay. I see it.
We've closed one project out so far.
Yeah.
We just did that. I signed that yesterday. So the way to close it out is Doug or Brian drafts a closeout or maybe you do that. I don't know. I just signed it. Brian does it, and then I sign it.
Okay.
But these need to stay open so that we can keep, so it doesn't impact, if we closed them out, then we'd be short money on other projects paying professional fees.
I will, just a little bit of information. I talked to Dave Ford too about that, Paul, and he said there's a percentage over the time of the bond that KGR gets a percentage, and they still owe them like $400. But he said that CTI was paid in full. Is what Dave told me on those projects.
On those.
But since they've got, and Matt just said there was another bill coming in for the
Bollards.
yeah, for the bollards, then that's something. I mean,
But how much was left in flowing well?
one's like 32,000, and
I can
another
tell you
one
real
is.
quick, hold on.
We got this morning. What was it? 32,000 was one, and 26,000.
Flowing well.
Because Cary Grove, I think, was at like 7,000.
5,800's what's in Cary Grove.
Okay.
And Flowing Well has 32,000.
So before our next meeting, I will find out from Dave, KGR, and Michael Klitzing if there are any other additional expenditures. And if there are none, then we can close them out. Is that fair?
That's fine. I see that, here's there's been no activity, and we just keep paying.
Well, on
those
some
two
of them,
firms.
like on some of these projects, we don't get a notice of termination from IDEM for 9 months after the project. So if IDEM comes back and says we have to fix something, we need to have some.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Any other financial questions from the board? Any board comments?
Went to the sculpture unveiling, and Mary did a very nice job of
Thank you.
speaking there, and a very nice little crowd there. It was, even though it was raining, but it was very nice and everything, and Doug was there, and so good job on Mary's part.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but that's not the first compliment I've heard about what you did. You clearly now know more about this sculptor than probably anybody in Carmel, so
But I love the
kudos to you.
Yeah, I did a research on it and then was able to talk about it as we saw it, and he was standing right there. What was such a thrill. Just a great, great time.
A few updates on projects. Historical Society, we are finalizing, the attorneys have been dickering with the agreement on where the depot is going to go temporarily for a long time. That is hopefully being finalized Thursday at 3:30. And then as soon as the building mover can get out, they'll move the depot.
Oh,
And
where are they planning to take it?
on some Pedcore property on Third Avenue.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that way it's close, it can be worked on a little bit. The Meadowlark is coming along great.
wonderful.
The biggest complaint I've been getting is the bridges to cross that creek have been out very long, and the constituents are upset, probably rightfully so, although those were not put in by anybody, except they were put in by landowners, not the parks. So unfortunately, to put a proper bridge back, it's got to be the right bridge. I mean, it can't just be wood laid across the creek anymore.
Well, if I can give you some feedback on that, I know people that go there every day to walk, and they love it. I mean,
Oh,
it
that's
just
great.
is really a neat park.
West Park is, excuse me, about 60 days from completion, based on the last estimate, weather dependent. And Inlow Park is moving right along. They've just been plugging along. You can see some of the water features going up. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
In the Carmel Clay Building, I would encourage you to call Dave or the chief and walk through it again. Now that there's drywall and all
Right.
you can really
It's
feel.
on my list.
Good.
They took me through and they had to carry me up, and it was ice on the steps.
Or you can wait, or I can give an update when the elevator's going to be in, because that is a supply chain issue, unfortunately. So that the July 4th grand opening is not going to happen by a long
Oh,
shot.
shoot, we were gonna go up there and watch fireworks.
That's been out of anybody's control,
Yeah.
but maybe Labor Day.
Yeah.
And then we're working on a way to control all these spaces and community spaces, and the Parks Department has shown an interest in maybe helping take some of that burden from us. So we're excited to keep talking with them. I believe that's all of the construction updates I've got.
Badger looks great.
They just, I'm there every Saturday, and we got to get that stinking parking lot done.
Parking lot. The potholes keep popping up every week, so.
We-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I've been at the Perlman Building several times.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, great facility to have meetings, and they had voting in there. It really wonderful.
That's why we have the best Parks Department in the world.
Oh, and I wanted to say that I had a wonderful time with Michael Kletzing, and we had a 3-hour tour of everything. I tell you,